sister got pregnant and gave birth to my husband's baby, having full-fledged plans to leave me with the both of them within the 9 months I was abroad for work. I would have had no idea if it wasn't for the fact that I returned home to surprise him and found him returning with a baby in tow. But now that all this BS is done, sister expects me to play happy family because we share the same DNA, and my husband doesn't want anything to do with her either. So I'm currently in a really messed up situation right now and I don't have any idea what to do. I didn't know where else to post, so I'm here for context. I've been staying away from home for the past year and 4 months for work. I am the project manager for my company, and I have to oversee everything. So I don't really get a lot of opportunities to go back home. Even when I do, it's not really for more than maybe 3 or 4 days. So when I do go back home, I just make it a point to visit my husband and spend some time with him. With the rest of my family, my parents, my older sister, I had tried to visit them initially. But the timings just wouldn't work out and I'm not very close with my family anyway. So eventually I stopped trying to visit them and just stuck to seeing my husband. But it's not like we hadn't been in touch ever since I left home. We used to speak occasionally and even had FaceTime calls with each other. So I really don't understand how none of them thought it was important to bring up something like this to me, like the fact that my husband and my sister had hooked up and she had had his baby. I don't think they had any plans to tell me either since I found out about it purely by chance last week. I'm supposed to go back home for good at the end of this month and I was really excited to tell my husband about it, so I decided to surprise him last weekend by visiting him, and then I planned to tell him that my project was almost done and I would be coming back home by the end of this month. However, when I got back home and I was walking towards our house, I actually saw him walking outside our house with a baby. I was really shocked because I had no idea what that was about. And as soon as I pulled up in front of our house, my husband seemed to be just as shocked as I was, and instead of greeting me, like he usually does, he started stuttering about how he hadn't been expecting me. But I did not want to beat around the bush. I had a bad feeling about the situation. So I immediately asked about the baby and he started telling me not to freak out and stuff. It was too late for that though. I was already freaking out in my head because naturally the sight of my husband walking outside our house with a baby was not something I had been expecting to see as soon as I came back home. After a couple of minutes of trying to calm me down and stuff, I just told him to tell me what was going on and be done with it. And that's when he finally told me that this was his baby and that the mother of the child was my sister. As I mentioned before, I was already freaking out in my head, but when he said that, I froze and just went numb. At first, I really tried to think that he might be joking, and that this might be his idea of a stupid prank to play on me. But after that, when he did not say anything and just went silent, I realized that he probably was not joking about something like this. Even when I had that realization, I didn't know how to react to it because it was just insane. It took me a couple of seconds to pull myself together before I said anything. And then, I tried to speak to him calmly. I asked him, how on earth could something like this happen? And then, he explained to me that while I had been away, in the first few months, he had been very lonely. He told me that without me, he had been feeling depressed and at the time, my sister was the one who had been there for him. The two of them have offices close to each other. So one day he just asked her to accompany him for lunch at a restaurant because he just missed me a lot, and she agreed. So that's how they started becoming friends. And soon enough he realized that he got along really well with her. Within a few weeks they had hooked up, but it had just been a one-time thing and a total accident because he had been missing me and feeling lonely, and my sister on the other hand had been going through a breakup. So both of them were really lonely, and my husband told that's why they ended up making a huge mistake. But right after that, they decided never to speak to each other in my absence again, and pretended like the whole thing hadn't even happened because they felt really guilty about it. Unfortunately, a couple of weeks later he received a call from my sister and she told him that she was pregnant and she planned to carry that pregnancy to term, but she did not plan on raising that baby as a single mother. My husband suggested terminating the pregnancy, but she was against that idea because she thought that it would be a sin. Very impressive how she has such strong morals about having the baby of a man with somebody else's husband, but whatever. My husband decided to go along with it, and that finally explains why my sister had no contact with me, apart from a few texts in the past couple of months. And finally, about 6 weeks ago, my sister gave birth to her son and my entire family was there with her. Since she was pregnant, she couldn't hide it from our parents, and they knew the whole truth all along. But even when we had been on speaking terms for the past couple of months, they did not think it was important to bring it up with me. And so, for the past 9 months, I had absolutely no idea that my sister was pregnant with my husband's baby. After my husband was done explaining the entire situation to me, he started apologizing to me and told me that it was just a one-time thing that ended badly for all of them, but now they were just going to put the baby up for adoption and be done with it. He told me that I would never have to see or hear of this situation ever again, and as soon as they were done rehoming the baby, he would also cut my sister out of his life since both of them agreed that it would be for the best, but none of that mattered anymore. I was just reeling from everything that I had just been told, and there was no way that I was going back to him after that. Even while he was apologizing, I decided to turn away and just get in my car and start driving at first. I had no idea where to go, but then I decided to go over to my parents' house and speak to them. Surprisingly, my sister also happened to be there, and once I got there, everyone started looking really uncomfortable. I guess they knew that I had finally found out the truth about what had been going on, and without even waiting for me to say something first, my sister tried to address that she was planning on taking up a job out of state and leaving us behind forever. So I did not have to worry about her creating problems for me and my husband anymore. And she told me the same thing that my husband had said, that it was just a mistake, a one-time thing, and they were done now. She also reassured me that the baby would be taken care of but didn't mention what exactly was going to happen, so I just assumed that she and my husband were on the same page about the baby's adoption. I just couldn't believe that they thought the baby was the problem here and not the fact that my husband had literally been cheating on me with my son. The baby was just a result of an affair, but the bigger problem was still the affair, and while she was talking, I decided to completely ignore her and just start yelling at my parents about how even they had betrayed me by helping the two of them cover up for so long. Hiding the truth was also a form of lying, in my opinion, and all of them had lied to me. They tried to make up excuses, saying that they were not sure if it was their place to say anything, but that was just some lame excuse that I didn't even pretend to entertain that. I told them that all of them had let me down and now I wanted nothing to do with any of them, and then I left. Without another word. I didn't go home after that because I didn't want to see my husband. I just blocked him everywhere and then I headed to a nearby hotel. I had decided that I was going to be there for the weekend, so I still had 3 days left to go, but I started planning to come back to work that night itself. So I booked my flight tickets for the next evening and came back. I have considered speaking to a lawyer and filing for divorce immediately. But then I decided to be practical, and since I'm going back home at the end of this month anyway, I'm going to start the proceedings then to avoid any legal complications. But until then, I have to put up with my husband and my sister's desperate attempts to contact me. And by desperate, I really mean it, because even though I have blocked all of them, they keep making accounts and emails and using different numbers to try and contact me. And they're all trying to accomplish the same thing. They want me to forgive them for the mistake that they made and come back home as soon as possible. And finally, I guess my husband and my sister have confronted each other about what their plans were regarding the baby, because while my husband had told me that the baby would be adopted, my sister had just said that the baby would be taken care of, but didn't specify anything. So I had assumed that the two of them had discussed the future and had decided that they would put the baby up for adoption. But now, through their messages, I have found out that my sister actually expects me and my husband to adopt the baby, and then she said that the baby would be taken care of. She meant to say that she would keep sending child support, but we had to raise him. And my husband wants to put the baby up for adoption because he wants nothing to do with my sister or the baby anymore. So my sister is trying to convince me to play happy family with the two of them, because right from the beginning, she had been planning on leaving everything behind after the birth of the baby. I'm moving away for her new job because she believed that we would adopt the baby. She has been telling me that we share the same blood and DNA, so it would be wrong of me to let go of her child, which is really stupid to even think. On the other hand, my husband is trying to convince me to come back and reassuring me that the baby will not be a part of our lives. My family have been driving me crazy because, as if it wasn't bad enough that I had to deal with my sister and my husband and their conflicting opinions, even my parents are trying to get in touch with me now and telling me that I need to forgive both of them because it was a mistake and they didn't intend to hurt me. And they also told me that my sister is miserable right now because she really doesn't want to put the baby up for adoption. And the only way that my husband will agree to that is if I come back to him and raise the baby along with him, because otherwise he wants nothing to do with either the baby or my sister. They keep trying to make me feel guilty by saying that they can understand what I'm going through, which I really don't think they do. But if I don't agree to come back and try and fix things with my husband, then the person who will suffer the most will be the baby, and he's just a couple of weeks old. I've even seen him, and of course he's adorable like all babies, but that doesn't change the fact that he is the result of the affair that my husband had with my sister. He is proof of the fact that my husband threw away an 8-year-old relationship and marriage of almost 4 years over a few months of loneliness. So I'm really sorry, but I can't raise him and pretend to be his mother just because my sister wants us to do that because she wants the baby to remain within the family. Sharing the same DNA doesn't mean that I have to share my husband with her too, and I don't think she or my parents understand any of that. They've been pressuring me for a while, and now I've actually started to feel really weird and guilty, even though I know that I shouldn't. But anyway, Ida for not wanting to raise my sister's baby with my husband. Edit. I feel like I have to clarify a couple of things. Firstly, the reason I was not aware of the pregnancy was because nobody told me. Of course. And I guess I have already mentioned that I didn't get a lot of opportunities to go back home because of how much work I had to do. And even when I would only meet my husband and not the rest of my family because I didn't have enough time. I hadn't seen my sister even once in the past 9 months, which is why I had no idea that she was pregnant. Because even when I visited, I wouldn't get to see her, and she and I just never did any FaceTime calls after that. I didn't find it suspicious at all because that's how it was. So there was nothing to feel weird about. Secondly, I had no idea what my husband and my sister had been planning to do after the baby was born. That's between them. I don't think there's any point in asking me about it. As of now, it seems like both of them have wildly different ideas about what to do in this situation, and I don't agree with either of them. But anyway, I strongly feel like they should have discussed it first instead of putting me on the spot and making me feel guilty for something that's not even my fault. Anyway, it's just all a massive, miserable mess right now. Update 1. Hello guys. Thank you so much for all the support in the comments. I've decided that I'm going to go through with the divorce when I get back home, and I'm just going to keep ignoring whatever my family has been telling me because their feelings are not my responsibility, and I hate to sound harsh, but neither is the baby. I might be the baby's aunt, but I'm not his mother, and if my sister can't take care of him, I don't think I need to. Of course, I would hope that the baby gets adopted into a good family, because the one thing my parents were actually right about was that in this situation, the person who suffers most after me, of course, is the baby. Besides, after reading the comments, I really thought about it, and it's outrageous how my sister thinks that she can have her cake and eat it too. She doesn't want to take care of the baby and raise him herself because she wants to go out for her new job, and she thinks that throwing money at us will be enough. But she also doesn't want to give the baby up for adoption so that another family can have him. I don't even understand what the obsession is about because I am pretty sure that there are open adoptions, and if she wants to stay in touch with her son in the future, she can find a family that is fine with it and choose to do so. Or better yet, if she values family so much, she can just choose to raise her son herself instead of expecting me to do it, to bend over backward for her, especially when she's the one who screwed me over and had a fling with my husband. I don't owe her anything at this point, and it's crazy that my parents are trying to guilt trip me and convince me to come back to my husband just so that my sister can have her way. And now coming to my husband, I don't think he understands how massively he has messed up, because if he did, I'm pretty sure he still wouldn't be entertaining the thought of me coming back to him, and better yet raising the child of the woman that he had an affair with. I'm pretty sure he's functioning on some higher level of delusion than most people, because even though I've been ignoring them for the past 2 weeks, he still hasn't stopped texting me. And I'm talking about non-stop texts every single hour of the day. I can't even count how many accounts I have blocked on social media and how many email addresses I've blocked. But even then, he has managed to find some other way to get to me. It's not like the rest of the family has stopped trying to get in touch with me. They are still trying to, but not as desperately as he is. At least my parents and my sister have restricted themselves to one text every other day, usually pretty long ones, but just one text nevertheless. I've been ignoring them for the same amount of time as well, so I guess they have taken the hint and are trying to accept what is happening instead of fighting it. But my husband probably can't come to terms with it and thinks that he can talk me into coming back to him, which is just ridiculous. All of his messages have the same tone where he's blaming himself for everything, and I don't know what he expects me to do. I'm obviously not going to tell him that it's not his fault, because it is. On top of that, he has been telling me that if I come back to him, he's going to make sure that I'm the happiest person on earth and he's never going to mess up again. But that doesn't mean anything to me because he's already messed up plans, and I don't plan on giving him the chance to do so again. It's just sad and pathetic that he hasn't yet understood that no matter what he says, I'm still going to be leaving now because I've made up my mind. I've already started speaking to lawyers back home. And in 2 weeks when I'm finally going to go back, I've already started speaking to lawyers back home. And in 2 weeks when I'm finally going to go back, I most certainly will be initiating the divorce. I'm done now. Update 2. Hi. So it has been a couple of weeks since my last update, and a few days back, I finally wrapped up my project and came back here. So far, I've managed to keep myself distracted with work, but now that a huge project is over, I'm going to have to relax for a while because my company isn't going to be assigning me anything new and heavy for a while. That means I have to think about my divorce and what's about to come. To be honest, deep inside, I've been dreading it right from the beginning, but I knew I had to get it done anyway. My husband hasn't stopped texting me. He's still sticking to his old routine, even though it has been several weeks. I admire his dedication, but I'm still getting that divorce. I've already started speaking to a divorce attorney, and I've already explained everything to him. We have the petition ready and we are going to be filing it within the next 2 days. I believe my petition is fair and simple enough. I get to keep the house and the car and I'm not demanding any alimony. I could have gone for extreme terms, but that would have just dragged out the divorce. And I want to wrap it up quickly so I can try and move on quickly. Now that I don't have a lot to do, the full impact of everything is actually hitting me, and it's not a very nice feeling. Being back here and being closer to my husband and family than I have ever been in the past year, but not having anything to do with these people anymore, actually hurts more than I would like to admit. But well, I have to deal with it. I still haven't even told my friends about anything that's going on with me, but I know that eventually I will have to come out of it. I don't even know why I'm ashamed and embarrassed of what has been going on, especially since I'm not even the one at fault, but it just feels really humiliating to be at the receiving end of something like this. Anyway, I'm just going to keep it quiet for a couple of days more, and then when the divorce petition has been filed, I'll put it out on social media because I can't bear the thought of telling people in person or whatever. So just wish me luck, I guess. Update 3. So yesterday my lawyer and I filed the divorce petition, and this morning I finally decided to rip off the band-aid and just do it. It was very difficult to find the right words to say it, but I finally made the announcement that after a really long relationship and marriage, my husband and I decided to get a divorce because of infidelity on his part. I could have gone into the details if I wanted the drama, but that's really not what I wanted. I just wanted to get it out there, and so that's all I posted. My husband has still been texting me, but I stopped checking his messages a couple of days ago. And while I had more than 600 unread messages from him before I made that post, it doubled to almost more than 200 within an hour after the post. I stopped blocking his account a while back because I knew that it was pointless. He would just find another way to contact me, maybe another email or another account, but he wouldn't drop it. And I didn't want to waste any time, but it's not just him that I have been receiving messages from. A lot of friends have gotten in touch with me, and even a couple of co-workers have reached out to me. Even my old acquaintances whom I haven't spoken to in a really long time have reached out to me, and it feels nice to have all this support. Considering the fact that I don't really have any support from my own family, this is amazing and more than what I had asked for. It's not going to make getting the divorce any easier for me emotionally, but at least I'll have people by my side. My friends have already started telling me that they're going to be there for me throughout the process and have even asked me to meet them as soon as possible, since they didn't even know that I had come back. I guess it really feels nice to know that I'm loved. Update 4. Hey, so it's been a few weeks since I filed for a divorce, and my husband still continued to text me for a few days after that, but then he just stopped. I'm really glad that I'm back. He did, because it just would have made the situation for both of us worse. Anyway, today he finally responded to the petition, and he has decided not to contest the divorce and agree to all my terms. I'm also really happy that this is happening, because I would have hated for him to disagree with my terms, drag out the divorce, and then make an even bigger mess of. I have no idea how he agreed to things so quickly, but I'm just glad that he did. With my sister and my parents, I have had absolutely no contact ever since I came back here, and I definitely intend on keeping it that way. Because even in the last few messages that they had sent me, they were trying to convince me to come back to my husband just so that my sister would have been able to deal with the adoption process the way she liked it. But now that I'm not coming back to my husband and he doesn't want custody of the child, she has no other option but to put him up for adoption, along with him, because she's not ready to take care of her son and raise him either. I found out about it because apparently before starting to look for families who were willing to adopt, my sister had started reaching out to everybody within our own family to ask if they would be okay with raising her son. I don't even know why. She thought that it was a normal thing to do, but obviously most people said no. And since a lot of people had put 2 and 2 together and realized that my husband might have been having an affair with my sister, some of them didn't even bother to get back to her and just told me about what she had been trying to do. It's really sad for the baby, but I'm really hoping that her son gets adopted into a great family, and he never has to find out about how his parents really are as people, because I'm pretty sure that it would break his heart. Anyway, the bottom line is that since nobody in the family wanted to adopt her son and make it work on her terms, my husband and sister have decided to start looking for other families, for the baby's sake. I hope that it all works out well. Update 5. Hey everyone, so it has been a couple of months since my last update, and I got officially divorced last week. It was all finalized really quickly, and now I can finally try and move on. He did send one last email to me after the divorce was finalized, apologizing to me for everything that he had put me through, telling me that he would try and work on himself to make himself worthy of me again, and he hoped that I could forgive him and give him a second chance in life if we ever meet again. It was already dramatic, and I found myself cringing at it because I couldn't even imagine going back to him at this point. If I'm being honest, I don't feel like I'm in love with him at all anymore. All the feelings that I used to feel for him just evaporated during the divorce, because I realized how badly he had betrayed me. Earlier, I had been feeling a little upset with the fact that out of all the people in the world, he had chosen my sister to cheat on me with, and that's what hurt the most. Even the fact that my sister and my parents had betrayed me in the worst possible way. It stung a lot until one day it just didn't. The only thing that I regret is the fact I spent so much time and energy on these people and it turns out they were not worth it at all. But whatever, it doesn't matter anymore because it's all in the past and I've decided not to think about it at all. I know a lot of you must be wondering what happened with the adoption, and while I'm not aware of exactly what happened with it, I did hear from a couple of my family members that in the end, my sister decided against letting her baby go and she moved out of state with him. I'm not sure how much truth there is in that statement, but if it's true, then that's great. Good for her and the baby. Anyway, now that I've earned a decent amount of money so far, I'm planning on taking a really long, expensive, and luxurious vacation. I've even asked a couple of friends to join me so that I can take my mind off of everything. And a couple of them have agreed so far. So I'm going to be out having fun and making the most of my life because I deserve it.